Now, one thing I forgot to mention in the previous video is that while we have everything we need um, with the actual parts, we did not update our drawing. So let's go back and open our pencil box based drawing. And you'll notice if we go down, well, first off, we have these big red lightning bolts that say that the base has been modified, which it has been. So we need to change this and show people that if we were to dimension this, so annotate dimension, that this is a 1/2 inch wide, that this whole piece is 1 inch, and the gaps in between here, well, we don't need to show the gaps. So let me hit escape real quick, go back to dimension, and that this is a 1/2 inch wide. So we have 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1/2 inch. Okay, and bill of materials is still in need of updates. Right click and select OK. Double click bill of materials, and now not only are we running into our parts list up here, but we now have pencil box insert that's not labeled yet. So let's drag this back down, see if we can get this out of the way. And it's not going to be easy to do that, is it? Let's take this all the way up to the top corner and see if we can maneuver this in any other way. Alright, well, we're going to have a hard time doing this unless we we may have to just change the scale. I'm afraid we're going to have to change the scale. So double click on this drawing. Instead of 1/2 scale, let's make it 1/4 scale and select OK. Alright, we are going to edit this, so double click on the text, and instead of spruce, pine, or fir, now we are using walnut. And since we do have extra space, let's also show an assembly view so other people know what this would look like. So we're going to go back to place views, base, and we're going to find the assembly. Use the ISO top right view. I think we can get away with a 1/2 scale here. So let's change this. Yeah, we can. And make sure that it is shaded. Oh, and one other thing, let's go ahead and include the scale on that one as well. So I'm going to turn on the light bulb for label visibility. I'll put this above instead of below. I'm going to shift this over a little more so that's out of the way. And I noticed that we did not put our name on this one. So I'm going to go back to annotate, text, and add in my name. I'm going to add a title to this, bill of materials, and I'm going to add a scale. No, I'm not going to add the scale. I'm not adding it because we have inconsistent scales and it's already labeled on the sheet, so they should be able to figure that out. Now we do need to add an extra balloon, so I'm going to click back on balloon, select one of the walnut pieces, and bring it out to the side. Try not to point straight up or straight over at an object. You always want to give it a slight angle and try and make it look somewhat consistent with what's already there. And that being said, let's hit escape on your keyboard and see if we can drag this out a little. There. So now it has a nice kind of an arc shape to the balloons. And we also need to add in an extra sheet. So I double click on top 3, go to place views, new sheet, and that should add it. Oh, it didn't. I'm going to click and drag this between top and bill of materials. I'm going to name this insert. And we're going to put in a base view of just the insert. So we're going to search for that. Again, we have to switch it to left or right, the symmetrical, so it doesn't matter. Here, 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 and the isometric view. Double click on your isometric view. Make this shaded. And we're going to dimension this the same way we did the base. So here's dimension. We want the full length of it first. There's our 10 inches. We want everyone to know that this is only a 1/2 inch wide. That from this point to this point is 0.25. Here to here is not 0.63, it is 0.625, so we're changing the units to 3 points after. That this is 1/4 inch, and we should probably put in that the radius of this is our 1 inch radius. Okay. Now we have the length, all of our length dimensions. We have all of our, oh, we do not have our height dimensions yet. So let's fix that. It's 1.5 tall, and from this point to this point is another 0.25. Now we have all of our height, all of our width, all of our depth. We need to add a note that this is symmetrical. And I'm also going to add a note that says matches base. Put in our name. And for title, I'm going to put in pencil box insert. The scale on this was 1:1. No, it's a 1/2 scale. So put that in as well. Okay, and now the way that we have this drawn, if someone were to go back and recreate this just as we have it, let's look at the bill of materials page, they would have to first cut out the 2x4. It's where they'd have the base, the sides, and the top. Then they would take just the base. We'd run it through the table saw. It would make it to where this was a 1/2 inch, this was a 1/2 inch, and this was 1 inch wide. After we had all three of those pieces, we would take a piece of walnut, cut this to be 10 inches long, and then glue it as one big rectangular strip inside here. Then we would use the sides that are pre-existing, and we'd sand down, actually we'd cut out first. So we'd make a cut and come in the same way we did before, but this time we only have these two little peaks that we're cutting out. And then file sand down to match the same lip so that the lid would still sit on top of our box and not fall all the way through. Had we drawn these same lines, the two walnut pieces, all the way across on the lid, which we could also do, they would first cut the 2x4, put the walnut in, and glue those together, and then follow through like normal. So we've actually made this a very challenging project for somebody, which could be much easier had we made the lid look the same as the body. But this isn't about making things easy. This is about customizing and going through the processes to make something the way that you want it to be. Alright, let me know if you have any questions, and this is our first project. We are now completely finished.